but it just boggles my mind that people eat those.
This podcast is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Spoiler warning for whatever is in the title of this episode.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/thehorrorofbabylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible and all other major podcast apps.
Speaking of not a high bar, welcome to episode 1 of the Blade-a-Thon, where we discuss Blade. I am Ryan, and with me as always is Daniel. Say hi, Daniel.
I have my blade sword.
And Hef is here too.
Good. How y'all doing? Good to be here. That's a big sword.
That is...
I like the little knife that comes on the top.
It's not that big a sword.
Yeah, I mean...
It gets the job done.
It's bigger than mine.
It's not the size of the sword, it's the pointy bit. I don't know.
It's the pointy bit.
There's a sex joke in here somewhere.
It's not the size of the sword, it's the size of the knives that pop out of the hilt and kill your enemies.
Yes.
That sounds like sperm.
Yeah. And feel free, if I make any bad jokes, to just tell me I'm grounded for life.
I like your bad jokes, though.
Thank you to our patrons, who, I don't know if they like my bad jokes, but they at least tolerate them. Up to and including Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben, the Fourth Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain, yo.
Oh, she makes it rain. And the sponsor of the Blade-a-Thon, for Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at shop.forhorsemancomics.com, or you can go to that creepy old garage in that abandoned corner of the Morgantown Mall where Ron hangs out and just mutters around with Chris Christopherson talking about how those terrible, terrible people are taking over the country and we have to do something about it, but we're not actually going to do something about it. And so let's kick this off with our history with Blade. Not just this movie, but the character in general. I don't know if I want to call it a franchise, but just, Blade. Eric himself. Daniel, I think it would be wrong if anybody else went first.
My dad knew that I really liked vampire movies, so he sat me down and said, "Hey, let's watch Blade one day." And I was like, "What's Blade?"
What's Blade?
We sat down and we watched Blade.
Did you whisper as a child?
Yes, all the time. And I didn't know it was a comic book character until like 10 years later.
So I have a fairly un-PC origin when it comes to Blade. So this movie came out in like 98, right? So
yep.
We were like 9, 10, something like that. My mom was, it was long enough that it went on to, like, where it was being on TV or whatever like that. And I asked her what she was watching.
Can't imagine watching this on TV.
Yeah, they did, you cut out all the other stuff, I guess. But it was on TV, and I asked my mom, I was like, "What are you watching?" And she said, "Oh, it's Blade, it's a vampire movie." And I looked at her and seriously said, "Are you sure that he's a vampire?" And she's like, "Yeah, why?" I was like, "Well, he's black."
I mean, prior to 1998, I'm not thinking of a lot of other black vampires.
And it was, I don't know why, but it was just so strange to think that back.
Why would you tell me that?
Props to Blade, because they actually are pretty multicultural with all their vampires.
Do I not bully you enough with memes? I've already made like 3 Blade-related memes with your face.
So I had never seen any of these movies before. I've been aware of them for a very long time. My only experience with Blade is I watched when all the Marvel anime series came out. We were in college, and our anime club, one night we watched the first episode of each. So I have seen the first episode of the Blade anime and thought it was okay, but not good enough to watch more of it. And I have read so many Marvel comics, and I have never once read a Marvel comic where this character has appeared. So there's lots of characters I've never read their books. Like, I've never read, I don't know, like a Ghost Rider book, but I've read lots of comics with Ghost Rider in it because he appears in other books.
Yeah, he's like right over there.
Yeah. I've never read an Elektra comic book, but Elektra has showed up in X-Men books I've read multiple times. But I've just never come across one that has Blade in it, so basically no experience going into this.
Have you ever seen the Venture Brothers by chance?
No. Well, I saw like 5 minutes of it, and they're like, nope, not for me.
Okay, so at some point they form a team. Not the Venture Brothers, like their neighbors, who's like basically Doctor Strange. Mm-hmm. And one of the people who he recruits is a black vampire hunter. But he always, the thing he keeps saying is I only hunt Blackulas. That's all I know how to do. That's the reason you don't see Blade, is he only does one thing. They're like, we have to go fight Thanos. And he's like, is he a vampire? Can't do it. I'm going to go over to DC Vampires. I can stab them.
Well, he's not really a hero. He's an anti-hero. So Thanos is going to kill all these people. I'm like, okay, well, you guys worry about that. I'll make sure the vampires don't kill those people.
Blade be over there being just like, well, I'm a vampire, so undead doesn't technically count as life. So when he snaps his finger, that don't apply to me.
I mean, I don't think these vampires, at least not in the movies, they're not really undead. We'll get into that.
He's the Goblin Slayer of the Marvel Universe. He just does the one thing.
The vampire's a pure myth, superstition.
I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
All right, background. This film was released on August 21st, 1998, so it's a summer film, and it has some good summer numbers. It's based on the Marvel character Blade, created by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan. His first appearance was in The Tomb of Dracula, number 10, from July of 1973, which has a pretty rad cover, which you should check out.
That is pretty rad.
The film was directed by Stephen Norrington, who has only directed 4 movies. This was the second of his 4 movies. His final film, and the only other one that I had seen of his movies, was The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with Sean Connery.
All right.
The film was written by David S. Goyer, who has written / directed / produced about 1 million comic book movies, maybe more than anyone else in Hollywood.
It's like the thing he's known for.
Yeah, so you can just check out his giant list. Like, he's done a little bit of everything. And this movie is known as Marvel's first financially successful film. And this movie is kind of, at least the way the wiki explained it, responsible for all the Marvel movies that have come since. Which, I mean, obviously they would have tried again. But this was the first one that kind of really blew up and made a ton of money. Critically, not so much of a success, but all 3 of the Blade movies are not critical successes. They all have terrible Rotten Tomato scores. But where it counts, at least to the studios, financially, this film had a budget of $45 million and brought in $131.2 million.
It sounds like Blade makes it rain.
I mean, he does. That's the first part of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Them sprinklers.
Structure and themes. Have any of us actually read a Blade comic book?
Nope.
Also no.
Okay. Skip that. Okay, Daniel, talk to us about, like, the main theme is obviously vampires.
Yep.
Talk to us about how these vampires are different, or what's typical for modern portrayal of vampires. Like, what's...
I have no clue where this started, but this movie's the first instance that I'm aware of this being a thing, is them having a weakness to silver. Which just kind of shows up in vampire media all the time now.
We have the internet.
Yeah. But this was the first, like, movie I'd ever seen where that was a thing. Or that, like, we'll just use big silver stake shotgun blast bullets.
I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter that much. But this was the first time I'd seen it be, like, a really big thing. And then I started seeing it show up in other places. It showed up in Dracula 2000, of all things. And Dracula 2000 is because it turns out Dracula's really Judas Iscariot, and he just hates that he sold Jesus for 30 things of silver. That's the explanation they give. And we don't get that here.
That is not the worst Dracula origin I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's not that bad of a movie. It's very, it's like a Korn music video is how I describe it to people.
And you want people to watch it.
Yes. Or a Marilyn Manson music video is what it reminds me of.
And you want people to watch it.
Yes, it's great. If you go in with that mindset. It's like watching the Suicide Squad. It's a music video.
That's what... So, I was excited to watch these because we're watching Marvel. And I'm like, I can get Emma and Beck to watch this. And they both said, yes. I was like, okay, great. So we turned it on. With them at the blood rain part, they both, nope, we're done. Emma made me turn it off, and instead we watched Suicide Squad.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
This movie also gives us Dampiers, half humans, half vampires.
Which I'm still trying to get my head around how exactly that works. But I think it's a comic book thing, and you just kind of got to roll with it.
In lore, it's if a vampire fucks a human, what's born as a Dampier.
That's what kind of struck me, is that there's purebred vampires who are born vampires, but which means that vampires can have sex and produce other vampires instead of them being
they can also make them by biting them in this,
which creates a hierarchy.
Yeah,
which is very important, especially in the first movie.
Yeah.
Which, it's just strange. That's not something I'm accustomed to in vampire media.
Oh, I do have... If we can revisit something for just a second. Is this a good adaptation? Have you seen what Deacon Frost looks like in the comics?
Yes.
He looks like how they describe Dracula in the books.
Yeah.
Not this, like, 2000s nightclub owner.
Yeah.
I thought he was Adam Levine for a second. Like, when I saw him, like, I didn't know he was that old when these... Oh, wait.
Did you know that one of the plans for post-Blade Trinity was a prequel trilogy starring Stephen Dorff about Deacon Frost?
I would have watched the fuck out of that, so...
I know very little outside of the movies themselves. I only know of, like, Wesley Snipes and his supposed difficulty to work with in films. That's the most I know about the Blade films.
I read all 3 wikis today.
Oh, good.
You wanted to be prepared. You also got the vampires crumbling into dust, like when they die.
You also would be considered an expert in your field.
So,
because I read the Blade wikis.
I would bet money. Would bet money.
I don't know. He showed up with Blade's sword.
That just means I'm a fan.
That's fandom. That's not expertise.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got to do all my Blade moves. Can't get it out.
Just like every other woman you've come across.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's go to characters. And of course, we're going to start with Wesley Snipes, who plays Blade. And I just have to ask real quick. All right, you just told me you guys haven't read any of the comics, so... Is there a reason he's called Blade other than he fights with a sword?
I don't know. That's the only thing I assumed.
I know it sounds fine, like the name works, but when you, like, think of it out of context, that's like calling Punisher Gun.
I don't know. It's kind of like calling Punisher because he punishes people.
Yeah, but it's like, what does he use? Like, that's if Captain America's name was Shield.
No, he just works for them.
Depending on the continuity.
Yeah. Hell Hydra.
So when I thought about it out of context, it seems kind of silly, but obviously it works fine.
I think that's a huge product of its time. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm honestly, it's hard for me to come up with another example, but it's like names like Blaze or Kilgrave, just shit like that. They're like, oh, that sounds cool, and he has a sword.
Yeah.
That's the only explanation I
mean,
got.
it's fine. It works. I'm not saying they should change it.
I have nothing to offer for this.
Do you have any alternative names?
None that would air.
Sword. Ken.
Kenergy.
Ken is Ken sword or is Ken heart? Ken is sword and Shin is heart, right? Yeah, I think.
Oh, I don't speak Spanish.
I was expecting him to just reach across and just...
I'm too far away, and he's afraid of the sword.
He said that same joke like 12 times.
I listen for nouns.
Okay, thoughts on Wesley Snipes as Blade?
I love him. I love everything about him. For the first two movies.
I just like him, yeah. I think he fits the role. He's just he's a dark figure that like just surveys the night. And to be fair, I will give Wesley Snipes points on like his I would say his combat prowess in the movies.
I think he's a very talented physical actor.
Yes, I agree with that.
His dramatic chops leave a little bit to be desired.
I won't disagree with that. But again, these are not movies where you're really worried about too much about the dramatic acting chops.
I think
he fulfills the role.
I think he's a little Orlando Bloomish in that he does good in the fight scenes, and the rest of it's kind of secondary to the people who care about these movies. But he's not...
Orlando Bloom was the elf, right?
Yes.
Legolas, yeah.
Yes, okay.
He's probably not going to win an Oscar for playing Hamlet anytime soon.
I would have put him in Othello.
Yeah, Othello's a little darker. I like that. But I don't know. Maybe he was directed to say every line the exact same way. So maybe it's not him, and maybe it's direction.
I don't know. Maybe it's because I watched all of these movies back to back. But like after watching Blade 3 today, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, he was so good in the first two. But it's because that's what I'm comparing him to.
Well, I'll try to hold this off, but I did read on the wiki for Blade Trinity that he didn't want to do the movie.
Yeah.
And I think it shows a little bit. Yeah. He was apparently extremely difficult to work with on set, to the point where he like wouldn't show up for shooting, and they had to, like, some of those fight scenes where he's like animated, that was because he wasn't there.
I would compare the performance to something like in Rambo, or like an action movie.
That's yes. Okay. Steven Dorff, Deacon Frost.
I wanted to be just like him as a child.
Don't worry about you.
I think for me, like, the most obvious like weakness of all three of these movies are the villains. I think they're all just really weak.
Oh, I love this dude. He cracks me up.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, his kind of character bothers me a lot more than it should, I think, too. Like, in no defense, like, I think, like, as far as, like, acting or whatever it was concerned, he had the good energy. He had good energy, I think, yeah. I just, typically, characters like this, where, like, I'm the... He just, it's a little too over the top most of the time for me. Like, just, I don't vibe with it.
The archetype of the mob, because he's basically a mob boss, and he's in charge of all these guys. And I've just seen this movie 100 times where there's one guy, and the guy at the top, he's okay, well, let's send some more guys. And they take him out, and he yells, "He's one guy! Why can't you take him out?" and he's like, "Lock this place down! He's one guy! He can't get in here!" It's just... He's like John Travolta and Punisher, and just...
I forgot John Travolta was in that.
I actually like that movie.
it's a lot like this movie for me.
I could see that.
Plus, he's just kind of whiny and annoying.
Yeah.
But and I was really surprised when I read that they intended on making 3 more movies around him. But obviously, he has an audience.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's hilarious. Look at him.
You're gonna have to give a little bit more of an explanation that he's amazing.
I find him very amusing. He says stuff and I laugh.
I mean, I have an argument Dane Cook is also in that wheelhouse. I hate Dane Cook.
I keep misremembering Blade 3 and remembering Ryan Reynolds as Dean Cook. So,
no shit.
Yeah, like every time I think about the movie, that's who they cast as that dude.
I guess I kind of see it. Like they both kind of have that like almost party boy kind of feel to them.
Especially in that movie.
Yeah. Okay.
It annoyed me how he keeps sending the guy from Grounded for Life to kill Blade, and he fails to kill Blade like 2 to 3 times. And like the definition of insanity is repeating the same action and expecting different results.
I just assumed that he liked seeing the dude's arm get cut off.
I was actually super disappointed when he didn't cut that guy's arm at the end.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just fucking with you.
I wish he did it.
He was just I wish he would have done it after he like started going, oh, he was just fucking with.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, his standards of a life mate as a vampire should have been a little bit higher, because, and I'm still trying to figure this out, at the ending scene where they have like all the vampire overlords like sitting in front of the whatever that machine is that like is pulling the blood out of them, and she kills one of them. Doesn't that mean they're missing one when they're trying to make this blood pact? So who'd they replace with it?
Like, logic is not this movie's
I know, that shouldn't have worked. I'm just like, you killed him. You lost the thing. Now you have to put something else there. Nothing else was there.
This is the same movie that opens with, hold still, I'll inject you with garlic. and then this is what got me. This is what just like absolutely got me. Where he's training the go, forget everything you've seen in the movies. My bullets are full of garlic.
Okay. So I have to know, what do you think's worse? Injecting someone with the garlic to stop a virus from spreading, or the blood transfusion from
I was gonna bring it up, and actually the garlic. I felt like a hypocrite because we gave Near Dark so much shit, but at least there's some amount of. I still think the blood transfusion in Near Dark is stupid, but there's some amount of logic to it because like it's a disease that goes through the blood. So take out the infected blood, put in clean blood. I still don't think it works. I still think it's stupid, but it's better than I'm gonna put garlic in the syringe and inject you with it, and you won't be a vampire.
I guess I just didn't think of it all that much.
It stuck out to me. Like
vampires are weak to garlic, so the virus must be weak to
it. He's beside himself.
Everything Chris Christopherson said in this movie just was so stupid.
I will give you that. Every vampire movie. And I don't know when this started, is they always go, forget what you've seen in the movies. And then they proceed to show you exactly stuff that happens in the movies. They die in sunlight. I guess they added silver as a weakness to this.
They only took away, like, the cross.
The cross, yeah.
They took away the cross. They added silver in its place.
And holy water.
Yeah, okay.
But it's still, like, sunlight, the silver, which probably has a basis somewhere, but we don't know. Decapitation, the heart or the head, like
they drink blood.
The majority of the vampire tropes are in this movie. But forget what you've seen in the movies, and even Ryan Reynolds in the third with the movies are bullshit.
I think
they take out a lot of the like religious symbolism. I think for this,
they do that, in
which makes to me for this kind of movie makes sense. Like if you're gonna go that route, that's probably what you take out.
I honestly think I'd be more taken aback if I saw a vampire movie that like still used crosses because of how many times it's been taken out.
I feel like garlic is such a weird one to focus on. My favorite inclusion of garlic in a vampire movie is Hotel Transylvania, where it just makes them fart. It's like it doesn't kill us, but it makes us gassy.
So, somebody was punished deeply for this.
Okay. Chris Christopherson, Abraham Whistler. I went the entire first movie thinking his name was Whiskers.
God damn it.
It was not until the end credits where I realized his name was Whistler. And I was like, oh.
You thought they called him Whiskers because they called the other guy Blade.
He has a beard. This guy has a sword, and he fights. They call him Blade. This guy has a beard. They call him Whiskers. He doesn't whistle, ever.
We have to travel back in time and make this canon.
Whiskers is more logical.
He was born old.
My mom was bitten by a grandpa, so I was born old.
I watched this man, and I kept thinking to myself most of the time, why can't you be Sam Elliott?
Why can't you be any other actor?
Well, you guys didn't like Chris Christopherson?
You had to look at his name. Don't give me that.
Yeah.
Don't give me that.
He's great.
He's amazing.
He's basically Obi-Wan.
Now
Yeah.
I'm definitely backing up.
I mean, he is that role. He is the mentor character, except the mentor dies. We'll talk about that in Blade 2.
Oh.
We'll talk about that in Blade 2.
Can you guess what my Koontz is for 2 movies in a row?
Yeah. I also didn't like that, but we'll table that for now.
Okay.
Chris. Okay.
He wasn't any other actor.
I would be curious if they remade the, like, if they did an MCU one, which they've talked about, and they got some Sam Elliott to play. Well, they may not even, like, Whistler was invented for the movie. He's not in the comics. He actually, I did some research. Blade had a different mentor figure who was also a black man. And they got rid of that, and I don't know why, but basically it's the same kind of role, but just a different character.
Well, they needed the white audience to be like, see, you're included.
Yeah, 1998 things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just.
Wild
I honestly think that's probably the explanation.
Well, if they did remake it and they did have Sam Elliott as Whistler, I would be much more interested. But I don't imagine Sam Elliott doing that.
I want them. I don't know. I was trying to think of a joke of who I would cast. But
I was gonna say, he did 3 more seasons of The Ranch, so I mean,
Ugh, well, Netflix has lots of money.
yeah, they do.
Cast William Dafoe as Whiskers.
Willem.
Willem.
I can't really picture it, but I would probably just make Green Goblin jokes the whole time.
Yeah, that's the whole
But
reason.
He is a much better actor than Chris Christopherson.
I didn't even do research to know what this guy would be remarkable for. Like, I've seen his name before, but I can't tell you what he's in.
He won an Oscar for limping.
I think he was in... Was he in
So did I.
Amistad?
Was that after I stepped on your toe?
No, you ran over my toe.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Healed up, by the way.
Okay.
Lots of Westerns.
Okay, so he's probably like one of those old school Western actors.
He's not, like, known for it, I don't think, but...
He was in Fallout. What the hell?
Yeah, he was Chief Hanlon. You
Oh.
didn't know that?
Nope.
I read that as Snow Bunnies and not Snow Buddies.
Oh, yeah, he was in the new Planet... or not the new one. I'm sorry. The Tim Burton one. God, I hate that movie. So, yeah, it's not looking good for Chris K, like the Mel Gibson payback?
The Mel Gibson payback.
Okay.
I've seen next to none of these other movies.
Yeah, I've seen Planet of the Apes and Blade. Okay, we're spending...
Yeah.
Too much time.
I mean, you just keep scrolling, man.
Well, I like to look at it all. All right, Nabush Wright, Dr. Karen Jensen.
This is the character I didn't give a fuck about.
This is my favorite, but she's kind of the best of a bad lot.
Wow. I just didn't find her interesting at all.
I didn't find any of these characters interesting.
Yeah, she's the classic character that you put in to explain everything to us. I mean, that's just what it is.
Yeah. She gets to all the exposition from Whistler and Blade.
Yeah, she's our learning curve.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, I guess. I don't have a problem with her acting or anything. I thought she did fine.
Yeah, she did fine. I think all the performances are... Oh, that's not true. Yeah, I just gave Wesley Snipes and Chris Christopherson shit, so never mind. And Stephen Dorff, actually. Okay, so she's the first one I haven't given shit about her performance, so never mind. Speaking of giving shit, Donald Logue as Quinn, I would have written this character out of the movie completely. He was so irritating in every single scene he was in, but I guess he was supposed to be irritating. He's the red-headed vampire with the braids, the guy from Grounded for Life.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. In my brain, I'm just I watched all these movies together, so they were kind of blending.
In the second movie, he's Ron Perlman, and in the third movie, he's the guy with no neck.
No neck. Okay. Alrighty.
All three of these movies follow kind of the same formula, where there's a girl, and then there's a boss, and then there's a sub boss, and.
My favorite part is when he went up to fight Blade at the end and got one shot.
I don't know. I'll give this guy 1 point as far as the movie was concerned, and that was he committed. I'll give him points. He committed.
He absolutely did. Yeah.
He committed.
He absolutely did. Which is probably what I would have been over the top and bad as well.
Mm-hmm.
I found him hilarious. I wish Blade would have cut his arm off a couple more times though.
Just kidding.
Kill you all! I'll drive you crazy, and I'll kill you all! I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
Scary shit. Is this movie scary?
No.
Oh, it's horrifying. But I also watched 3 of them all together.
Horrifying is a good word. Speaking of horrifying, them special effects. Now I know it was 1998.
I'll say for 98. I think for 98. That's probably not the worst
I think we'd have to pull up a bunch of 1998 films.
I think you should have went with more practical effects.
I do agree with that. I mean, I'm generally in favor of that most of the time for any movie, though.
Yeah.
So I try not to make that a real harsh judgment if I don't have to. They just they will not age well.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
The when it first shows you the temple where they're gonna get the blood vampire god.
The blood god.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure I've seen that screensaver before.
I don't know. Pearl looked pretty good.
Then the pipes started going across the screen, and I was wondering about how my RuneScape account was doing.
It's like, we're gonna go through this labyrinth, and we're gonna see a smile, a big oval guy.
All that tells me is we need a remaster.
I did watch them in 480, which did not help.
Yeah, you got to think of 1998 VHS.
I mean, that's basically the experience I got watching 480p on a high-def TV.
I cheated. My TV was small, so I got away with it.
Yeah. I watched Trinity on an iPad, which helped a little bit.
Oh, boy.
It's bad when you're considering I need to make this screen smaller to make this movie better.
Did it work?
I mean, the visuals in Trinity annoyed me less than the first two, but it also generally had better effects because it was a newer movie. That's not a compliment, that's just a fact.
Kiss me, fat boy!
Kiss Me Fat Boy. I was kind of surprised that there was no Skronkin in this movie.
No, but can we talk about Blade's V-MILF?
His mom?
Yeah.
V-MILF.
Where she's basically licking him right at the end.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was odd. I wasn't ready for a little bit of incestuousness. And again, I'm watching a vampire film, and I'm like, this still comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, I didn't really expect that. That was a little strange. No comment?
I was gonna make another stepmother sin joke, but
in a way I was kind of for it because I'm just like, man, she's pretty.
I mean, yeah.
I'm with you. I'm generally, yeah. There's no scrunking. There's no sex of any kind really in this movie.
My mom
and
was a
that's
beautiful black woman, I guess.
It just surprised me a lot that there's nothing like that in any of them.
Oh my God! Are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
Kings and Koontz. I don't know why I put myself first. That was dumb.
Excuse me.
My king is that I'm finally able to say that I have seen this movie.
Wow.
I laughed really hard. Granted, I was laughing at it most of the time. So I did have some enjoyment from laughing. Okay, that's my king. Daniel, what's your king?
Okay, so whenever the the blood showers are starting, I was sitting there watching in my living room and I went, looks like someone had a really big day. And I laughed for like 30 minutes.
I hope you have a daughter someday.
I really hope you have a daughter someday. You weren't there, man.
I wish I would have. I tried to record my reaction because I could not stop laughing.
If that's the thing that I have to be poked at the most for, I think I'll take it. My king is, and it's probably going to be the same for basically all of these movies, is I actually enjoy watching Wesley Snipes' action scenes because I think he was at the time like a phenomenally good physical actor, and I'm big in martial arts films. I still enjoy me a good martial arts film, and I think Wesley Snipes is very good at his physical prowess.
I believe he's an actual martial artist too.
But he's just got a frame and like a physical build that just looks good when it's moving.
I agree with everything you said, except I just don't like that genre of movie. I get bored and I space out.
That's fair. I mean, I would never say to anybody, why won't you like this? At least that specifically.
But I can I was impressed, or at least in the first two. I was like, wow, he's really going to town. He seems to be really talented. What's going on in here?
Nah, like I said, I think just what got me was and yes, I can say it, he just looks good physically whenever he's doing the action.
Because he's not overly big.
No, he's not.
He's a thick boy, but he's not like the guy in the guy in Trinity who has no neck.
Yeah.
Who went, "You're not so big."
Like his moves were just he himself looked really thick. His movements were fluid.
I think,
and for American even for American, especially for American actors, that's really hard to capture, I think. And he does a very good job of allowing that to be something that's
if you look at his filmography, just all the way through the 80s, is just like this kind of movie. It's just him. And I think that's why he got the role. And that's why they kept him for 3 movies, regardless of him being difficult to work with, allegedly.
Yeah.
And I think not just him, but whoever did choreography on this movie seemed to really know what they were doing, because most of the fights that had him or didn't have him seemed to be well choreographed.
I agree with that.
It's just not something that particularly interests me. Koontz is really hard. I think I've gotten it down to 2. It's either opening a superhero movie with your he is an anti-hero, I acknowledge that, but it's either opening a superhero movie with your protagonist walking into a nightclub and firing a gun indiscriminately into a crowd, or it's all the garlic shit. Hef, I'm gonna let you pick. Which one is my Koontz?
I didn't put the first one together until you brought it up, and I'm like, wow, that is shitty.
Well, here, I was watching that, and was like, he just doesn't give a fuck. He just literally just shooting.
He just went in and mowed all those people down.
And I'm like, well,
they're vampires, right?
Not all of them. The first guy in the movie is an innocent dude who gets drug in there.
Yeah.
And maybe he was the only one, maybe he wasn't. But we also learned in the second one that not all vampires are bad. It's like, so this is the definition of an indiscriminate shooting.
He should have shot more.
And then like the scene with the little girl where like Frost has the girl. So Frost throws the girl into traffic.
Oh yeah.
And Blade takes the time to fire several rounds at Frost with other bystanders all around Frost before going to rescue the girl.
He should have just pulled a Helsing and just shot through her.
So which one's my
choice? Your Koontz is the garlic one, just because I feel like in 1998, you could say culturally we weren't nearly as aware of something like that. You just ran with it. And
absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that would be the difference.
In recent we've had all these horrible events with like people going into gay clubs with guns, and it's in 1990. I'm not going to say that had never happened in the 90s, because I'm sure there were some instances. I think that's on the forefront of our minds here.
Right.
And also there's the whole like the Israel Defense Force and indiscriminate killings, and it's a very topical thing.
Right.
But when Chris Christopherson put that woman on that table and said, "I'm going to inject you with garlic," I had to pause. I was laughing so hard. So yeah, thanks for choosing that as my
no problem.
That's a good one.
It's a good one.
And the same thing happened when Blade said, "Forget everything you've seen in the movies. My bullets are lined with silver and filled with garlic." Okay, Daniel, what's your guess?
That he didn't skronk Pearl.
Who's Pearl?
The big fat vampire that was working for Frost.
Oh.
Yeah, I wanted to see Blade fuck him.
Yeah, I've been like that. Granted, like, so I used to deliver pizza. If you don't know what Daniel's talking about, he's talking about the morbidly obese vampire who's like the quote unquote guy in the chair.
Yeah.
So I used to deliver pizza, and I worked for a really shitty, cheap, gross pizza place. I made $3 an hour under the counter and had to pay my gas out of my tips. And so this pizza place was frequented by really cheap or people on the lower end of the economic scale. And I had an experience once where I was called to deliver pizza to a trailer. And I went up to the trailer, knocked on the door, and I just hear from the back of the trailer, "I'm in the bedroom!" Okay, that's kind of weird. "The door's unlocked, I'm in the bedroom, the money's back here!" And I'm like, okay. So, that character in real life, an actual, like, morbidly obese person who could not get up.
You went inside.
I was like 18.
Ryan almost got sex trafficked.
Okay, well, I'm just saying I've had a real experience with an actual person like that. So,
did you skronk?
I don't particularly find depictions like that funny.
They're getting him with the blue light though.
That was me. It moved.
It moved. Shit.
It was like, damn, don't fuck with her.
She's going to high beam you, and not in a good way.
What was your Koontz?
My Koontz was that little rant I had earlier where like they had all 12 vampire people in front of it, then they killed one of them, and then there's one missing, and they still get the blood god. Yeah,
I didn't put 2 and 2 together on that, but you're right. I guess maybe they took one of the...
I looked for that. I rewound it. I was like, who did they put in their place? They didn't.
Apparently 11 was good enough.
Apparently 11's fine. 11
that's why Blade was
That's why he won.
Yeah, that's why he won.
Yeah. That bugged the shit out of me.
The blood god could only use 99% of his blood powers.
I want to mention, because just to fill a little more time, I've got one more thing that was up for being my Koontz. So this was my experience. So I'm home by myself, doing housework, listening to the book we're doing soon, Let the Right One In. Very, very light spoilers for Let the Right One In. So the book is very good so far, and it pissed me off for the first time. There's this character who, not unlike Chris Christopherson, will not die. He burns his own face off with acid and doesn't die. And then he takes a 10-story plunge from a hospital window and makes you think he's dead. And then they do this whole scene where he gets taken down to the morgue as a dead body, and then he's alive and comes back alive and kills the person who brought him down to the morgue. And I was just so mad. I thought it was so stupid. I put the book in timeout, said, fine, no one else is home, I will watch Blade. And that's the first thing that happens in Blade. And I was so mad, like, this is so stupid. I was like, that vampire's not dead. It's going to attack these people. I hate you. But I decided not to make that my Koontz because it's not fair to Blade that I happened to be reading that book, got annoyed by that one part.
I was wondering what it was. I was like, did he get towards the end and then watch Lolita again?
No. Speaking of Lolita, it's time to rank. Daniel, here's your list. Let me just look at the order real quick. Daniel, heft than me. Okay.
It's above Gremlins.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's...
Okay,
that's right.
So, number 7, one spot below Pet Sematary and one place above Gremlins.
It's actually kind of interesting. I think Blade goes below Gotham by Gaslight and above Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
So it's your new number 8.
Is it because Blade's a better vampire hunter?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, at least I can definitively say them special effects were in 1998.
True dat. Mine is number 86, below the original Lolita and above the Evil Dead remake. Homework, who would you recast as Blade? I would recast Idris Elba. I would retitle the movie Cock, and it would be a porn, and he would just slay the vampire ladies with his cock.
That's so much better than what I envisioned.
Yeah, this is why we don't let Ryan go first on homework.
I said Anthony Mackie.
The Falcon.
The Falcon, just because the Falcon delivers.
I like me some Falcon.
I love me some Falcon.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him as Cap.
I still haven't sat down and watched that. Like the actual Winter Soldier and Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I don't recommend many. Like, I haven't had a great experience with the Disney Plus Marvel series, but the two I will always recommend are Hawkeye and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If you're a Steve Rogers fan, because it's basically just like 6 hours of Steve Rogers fanboying.
I like this.
Yeah.
I mean, the Captain Americas are like pretty high. They're like the high tier as far as Marvel cinematic for me.
No, I agree. I completely agree.
Chris Rock, because I can't get over how funny Spyro is unintentionally, and I want the Blade version of that.
Cool. I thought you said Spyro.
Spyro?
Yeah, but Spiral, like the Saw movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is unintentionally one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
For further reading, I think there's a population of people who like these movies that would also, if you haven't seen Near Dark, it's probably, there's a crossover in the fan base there, for what I would imagine. And I've never sat through, I started the first Underworld movie, I didn't finish it, but I imagine that there's probably a crossover between those fan bases.
100%. They're basically the same movie, only with a hot chick in spandex.
Also, there's a sex. So you get sex.
There's sex, yeah. You get skronking in it.
You get skronking.
I also would not have finished this movie if I didn't have to do it for a podcast. Any other recommendations?
I actually wrote down Underworld, and you had it already, so...
I also wrote down Underworld.
They are.
It's
same thing.
The two post Blade Trinity projects were the Deacon Frost prequel trilogy, and a Blade Underworld crossover.
I want that so bad. I want that so bad it hurts.
They couldn't get it to work.
I hope whoever didn't let that happen dies, and I hope it hurts.
Upcoming on the Horror of Babylon this Sunday, we are wrapping up Battle Royale coverage with Battle Royale 2 Requiem.
Hooray.
Shuya returns.
Oh man, that should have been like the other tag.
And then on Sunday, the 24th, so Christmas Eve, is our next book episode where we are reviewing Let the Right One In by a Swedish man.
Hey, Hef, how would you pronounce that name?
John
Avide Lidvist?
Lutefisk? I think that's a fish.
Lutefisk?
Is it Swedish?
Yes, it's
Yes, that's
Swedish.
very Swedish. I know there's no K's. I know K's are generally silent in Swedish.
What, really?
Yes.
I have no idea.
I'm just, he
well,
could be
actually,
lying to me. I have no idea.
If you think of all the K's in the word Swedish are silent, so
Like the fish.
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's 3 K's.
I want some Swedish fish.
Ugh. I'm sorry. I don't normally make gross noises when people talk about food I don't like, but it just boggles my mind that people eat those. Those and circus peanuts.
I love circus peanuts. They're so good. Do you got any circus peanuts?
No, we do not have circus peanuts.
I ate cookie cake for my birthday. Now all I want is sweets. I'm
Happy-
going through
when you
withdrawals
Happy
again.
belated birthday.
When you went trick-or-treating as a kid, were you the kind of kid that got really excited by the fact that you had Tootsie Rolls?
Yeah,
flavoring the
Tootsie Rolls
bottom
are
of your-
great.
You probably eat candy corn too, don't you?
Candy corn is so you got any candy corn?
No, God. These are like the worst candies ever.
I love candy corn. Like eating beeswax.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it is. Thank you to our patrons. Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons. And
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron. And Ben the Fourth, Patron of Hope. And Mia the Fifth, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain, yeah.
Oh, she makes it rain. And thank you to the sponsor of the Blade-a-Thon, Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia. You can visit it at the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at shop.fourhorsemencomics.com. If you shop there, let them know that we sent you, and say hello to the leader of the vampire cult, who always plays black-white or some variation of that. Deacon Ronald the Third, Grampus of
The Blood God.
Of the Blood God. All right, thanks for rewatching Blade and recording with me tonight, gang.
Always a pleasure.
Any excuse to wear this thing?
Yep. Oh yeah, I love your Junji Ito shirt.
Yeah, I love this.
All right, thank you to our patrons. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher, and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, and all other major podcast apps. Stay scary.
Stay scary, folks.
And instead, we're going to review Midnight Mass, the Netflix miniseries, which I said that I would watch like 6 months ago, and still have only watched the first episode of.
I hope you're ready to call me a giant hypocrite for like 5 different things because of how much I love Midnight Mass.
And criticize other vampire media for the same stuff.
It's not even vampire media. Like, it does a bunch of things that I actively hate, but I still love it so much.
There are things that I can't think of an immediate example, but there are things like that for me as well.
I'll spoil it. There's at least 2 scenes where people look right at the camera and explain the
stuff,
themes. Yeah, so...
I'll go back to me watching Prometheus and just say, Ryan, don't worry, you'll get him. You'll get him.
Yeah. And it's like 5 times as long as what's in Prometheus.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.